What's up, everyone? Eddie Mercado here with BloodyElbow.com, and I'm about to speak with the 13-1 Stephen Wonderboy Thompson ahead of his UFC 205 welterweight title fight against Tyron Woodley in Madison Square Garden in New York City on November 12th. So let's give Wonderboy a call and find out what he's been up to since his last fight. Find out his thoughts on competing for a world title in mixed martial arts, and maybe what he has in store for the current champion, Tyron Woodley.
Hey!
Mr. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, how are you doing, sir?
Doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Yesterday was actually my birthday, so...
Happy birthday!
Thank you, sir. I got to spend it with a Stephen Thompson marathon. It was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's cool, man. You're sitting here. I'm riding. You got my brother Tony in the car.
What's up, Tony?
My sparring partner for today.
Nice. Where are you guys headed?
We're actually headed to pick up some. We just got done training. We had some sparring we had going on today. I had my buddy Tony, another professional of ours, Carl Reed, sparring. So we're going to pick up some, what do they call, three-wheeler cars.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of those?
I haven't.
They're like cars, two front wheels, one in the back. It's pretty cool.
Okay, nice. Gonna go have a little fun, take the edge off a little bit.
Yeah, man.
I dig it. Well, thank you so much for taking out the time. I know you are so busy. 13-1. I mean, 57-0 world champion kickboxer. You came over into MMA in 2010. 6 years later, you are fighting for the UFC welterweight title. How does that feel?
Man, it's a dream come true, you know. I went to my first UFC at the age of 12. I think it was UFC 2. And, you know, me and my dad were talking and told myself I want to be fighting for the UFC one day. And it's just a dream come true that I'm going to be fighting for the title November 12th, man, against Tyron Woodley. So just, I'm all smiles, man, all smiles.
Yeah, not only that, but it's the very first ever UFC event in New York City, Madison Square Garden. I mean, that's monumental, right?
Oh, man, like crazy. Like, you know, I really wanted to get on the card, because it was going to be the biggest card everybody's saying in UFC history. But I'll be fighting on the same card as a relative of mine now, thanks to this guy. Chris Weidman. So never before have I fought on a card with him, but you know, he's the face of MMA in New York right now.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for him, I believe, you know, MMA wouldn't be in New York City.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I would be cheering the octagon with him.
He was definitely one of the guys lobbying to legalize it in New York. Now, let me ask you this. So, you know, you'll see a lot of UFC superstars like John Jones, Mark Hunt, Max Holloway. You know, they're not really shy about, you know, giving the glory to a higher power. Now, you yourself, following your bouts, you make it a point to give thanks to your Lord and Savior. Now, can you kind of speak to the importance of your faith in your personal life and how important it is for you to almost witness in a way on a kind of big stage MMA platform?
Yeah, man, you know, and that's why I do what I do. You know, I believe that God gave us gifts, you know, to help serve Him, and you know, He gave me the gift to you know, I'm a people person. I'm also an instructor at Upstate Karate, but I've got the gift to fight, man, and after every fight, I try and give all the glory to Him. I believe that He gave us, like I said, the abilities to do that, and just the way I hold myself, the way I carry myself, I just want people to see that, hey, man, there's something about that guy. What is it? And even if it just gets them to ask questions, hey, you know, why do you act this way? Why are you such a humble and nice person? And you know what? I got a lot of smack talk on social media, and especially after my very first fight in the UFC, I gave all the glory to him. But there was a few people out there that was asking questions, and we actually got a hold of him and on Facebook and started talking, and ended up changing his life. So,
oh wow,
just getting that one person made all the differences. You know, why I do what I do.
Okay, awesome. I definitely respect it. Now, so you had your UFC debut, extraordinary fashion. I mean, you put the guy to sleep with this sneaky over-the-shoulder kick that he did not see coming. Now, after that, they pinned you against a savvy veteran in Matt Brown. Now, you showed a lot of heart in that fight, but you kind of had some fits on the ground. Now, since that Matt Brown fight, you've won 7 straight, and you have yet to be placed on your back. So what did that Matt Brown fight do to you exactly? I mean, you've been stuffing takedowns, you've been taking people down, and spin kicking everybody in the face.
Yeah, that's the plan. You know, always keep it standing. But you know what? Everybody asks me, hey, what is your most memorable fight? And for me, it's definitely the Matt Brown fight. That's my favorite fight, in the UFC so far. And I think it's just because it showed everybody it showed myself what I could push myself through, what I'm capable of. You know what I mean? When most people would have gone out there and taken those shots and given up or tapped, I didn't. I told myself in the first round, I was like, listen, this guy's, even though I was done 30 seconds in. You know, I learned a lot about my weight cut, obviously what I needed to work on, my grappling, my wrestling defense. But, you know, I told myself I wasn't going to give up. This guy's not going to submit me, and he's not going to knock me out. But since then, yeah, we went back, and I learned so much. And if it wasn't for that loss, I wouldn't be where I am today. And a lot of people, you know, after a loss, maybe they don't have those positive role models, those positive people in your life to keep going, to keep on learning, you know, to learn from that experience. And I've seen a lot of that, actually, especially from professional fighters. But, man, yeah, I keep a very small circle. You know, my brother, my family, I got good training coaches to help bring me back up and keep me focused on my goals. But, yeah, I hooked up with, of course, my wrestling coach, Thomas Lee, Chris Weidman, who's a phenomenal wrestler, fights at 185. He's a monster.
And former champion.
My jiu-jitsu coach, Carlos Machado. I also bring in Ryan Hall. My buddy Matt Miller, who's an Olympic wrestler out of Canada. So, man, just trying to surround myself with these great athletes and good people. You know what I mean?
Okay. Now,
I think that's what's done it.
Did Ryan Hall? Did you bring him in to help you out with Rory and those rolling leg locks he was trying on you?
You know what? No. You know, I respect those guys from TriStar. I've done a lot of training up there myself. You know, helping out George and learning a lot from Faraz, and that's pretty much where I met Ryan Hall, was at TriStar. Okay. So we're all mutual friends. So as soon as I found out I was fighting Rory, I was kind of disappointed. I was fighting him because I knew him, you know, as a buddy of mine. But as soon as I found out, I called Ryan Hall. I was like, listen, I know you guys, we have history. I know you guys train up there. I understand if you can't make it down from my camp. So he was actually a neutral guy. He didn't go up there and train up there. He didn't come down here and train. Okay. But working with him in the past, knowing that he's really good at those rolling heel hooks and things, I kind of had an idea. Maybe Rory was going to try one of those, try something maybe I've never seen before, and it definitely paid off. You know, right there in the first round, I was like, you know what, I want to go out here, I want to finish this guy like I did Johnny Hendricks, just kind of push him. But as soon as I went out there, he lowered his stance, and I knew he was waiting for me to close that gap so he could look for that takedown. So I had to draw out the takedown. So I wasn't really sure what he was going to try and get me with. So I had to try and draw him out. Like, use a lot of feints, trying to get him to try and take me down, so I know exactly what he was trying to do. After that first one, I knew exactly what he was trying to shoot for. So I started to open up as the rounds went on.
Okay. Now, where was your confidence going into that fight? I mean, because that's coming off of running through the former welterweight champion, Johnny Hendricks. I mean, you had to have been soaring at that moment.
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah. I definitely went in super confident, but I also went in very aware, you know. I believe that at that point, Rory was the toughest match. I think he still is, man. I mean, he's so good everywhere. You know what I mean? He's got great striking. He's got really good wrestling. His jiu-jitsu is phenomenal. So I wasn't really sure where he wanted to take the fight. So I had to be very aware, but I definitely went in super confident at that point.
Okay, yeah, Rory's definitely a problem. Do you are you still planning on training with him in the future?
You know what? I never actually trained with Rory. We did a few classes together, but never really one-on-one stuff. Of course, I would love to go back up and train with those guys. I thought, you know, really good friends and respect those guys up at TriStar. George Faraz, Ayman Zahabi. Love those guys to death. So we'll see, man.
Okay, now, you've been scheduled for 25 minutes 2 times before your last fight, but it didn't last that long. You actually went the full 25 against Rory. What did that feel like to kind of go the distance for real?
Yeah, you know what? And it's such a high caliber fighter. that's what I wanted, man. I mean, of course, everybody loves a first round knockout or whatever, but I wanted to kind of test myself as well to see if I can go 25 minutes nonstop. And that's what I did exactly. I had to be very aware, even though a lot of people didn't really understand what was going on in there. A lot of people said it was very boring, but very high athletes and, martial artists, they loved the fight because it was very technical. It was definitely a chess match. But just to be aware, to be on point for 25 minutes, man, it's tiring. But I'm glad I did it, so it showed myself. It gives me more confidence going into this next fight that I'm able to go 5-minute rounds.
Yeah, it's you definitely kept the pace all the way throughout. You didn't let up. Even in the 5th round, you were still going for it, still looking for the finish. And I admire that. That's what fans want to see. We want to see guys not coasting to victories. So now, on your plate, Tyron Woodley. He goes into UFC 201. He takes out Robbie Lawler. Afterwards, he's getting interviewed, and you ask him, you're like, hey, November, let's do this. Let's fight in New York. And he replies, no, go fight Robbie Lawler. I want to fight Nick Diaz. Did that upset you?
Yeah, man, I was actually laughing in my head. Like, is this guy serious? He just got the belt, and he's already asking for a money fight? From my experience, you have to earn that, right? And the champion should take all newcomers. At least, defend the title a few times before asking for that big money fight. So I was kind of laughing in my head. I was like, man, this guy's serious. And I was very nervous because I figured, yeah, they may give this guy to him, and I've worked my butt off to try and get to this point, to get this title fight, and they may not give it to me. So, I'm not the type of guy to really bully somebody into fighting me or talk a lot of crap. So, I got 600 kids here in Upstate Karate in my hometown gym who's watching every move that I make. So, actually, I take my hat off to all the fans out there who actually rallied up and started getting on social media and trying to work the fight up to actually give me this fight. So, I thank them from the bottom of my heart. Actually, they went out there and did that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome that you have your support system rallying behind you. They want to see you do well. Now, so they announced the fight, and UFC 205 press conference, Tyron Woodley gets booed. The champion gets booed. How'd that make you feel?
Man, I was smiling, man. I didn't say anything, but I was smiling. Not the fact that they were booing him, but how much it affected him. He actually said, man, you guys are booing me. And if you go back and look at the video, he just looks like, man, like he was sad or something. You know what I mean? Like he kind of let that affect him. And being a champ, if they love you or they hate you, you can't let them show you, especially your opponent, show that it's affecting you. So right then and there, I knew that it's affecting him mentally. We'll see if it's affecting him out there when we step out in the octagon November 12th.
Okay, now why do you think it is he got booed? Do you think it was him not wanting to fight you to begin with, or
I think so. I've been in New York a lot, since Chris Weidman's first fight with Anderson Silva. So I kind of look at New York as a home away from home, and I think the New Yorkers know that. I spent a lot of time there, so it was really cool to see them, kind of take me in as one of their own. I believe, and there were a lot of people that were upset with Tyron for, saying he wasn't going to fight me. And of course, a lot of the smack talk, calling me Wonder Woman. Of course, I've been called everything. Wonder Woman, Wonder Bra, Wonder Bread. I've been called everything. So it doesn't affect me one bit. But maybe they were kind of upset about that. I'm not sure.
Okay, now, do you think, like you said, he came in, he got booed, and you kind of saw it on his face that he was maybe a little defeated? Mental toughness is huge in the sport of MMA. It could be one of the most underrated things. Do you think maybe there's a mental chink in his armor that can maybe take his focus away from the fight for just a split second that is really is an eternity in the octagon?
Right. I see that from time to time with fighters, and I saw a little bit with Tyron when, during the press conference, a little bit of things he said on social media and interviews about how I've gotten under his skin and how he doesn't respect me as a man, but he respects me as a fighter. Little things like that. I don't know if he's trying to hype himself up because he is worried, but you know what? I can't think like that. I know going in there, November 12th, I'm going to be facing the best Tyron Woodley the best fighter in the world, and that's how I go and looking at this fight. You know, a lot of people go in and they overestimate, or they think they've got him beat mentally or physically or whatever, and then they underestimate him, and next thing you know, they put you to sleep. And with Tyron, if he hits you with that right hand, if he touches you with that right hand, you're going down. He's got a good wrestling background as well. So, yeah, man, I've got to be on point when I step out there. So, but I do see that sometimes in fighters, and I did see that a little bit with Tyron, but just for my confidence, I'm going in there facing the best Tyron.
Okay. Now, of course, you've been training with Chris Weidman, phenomenal wrestler. You haven't been on your back since 2012. Where's your wrestling defense confidence going into this?
Man, it's off the charts. I mean, especially after my last few fights, I'm keeping the same thing going. You know, I've got, like I said, I got great training partners. Somebody as big and as strong as Chris Weidman, my buddy Carl Reed, someone as technical as my buddy Matt Miller, and the jiu-jitsu aspect. You know, Ryan Hall. I got my brother-in-law Carlos Machado, one of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the world, at my disposal. For him, you know, of course, he kind of has no say-so. He married my sister, so she's like, "You better get your butt down to South Carolina and help him out." So, yeah, man. You know, I've tried really hard to keep the fight standing, and it has helped out so far. Just trying to stay off my back, but I expect to be put down. You know what I mean?
Okay, so worst case scenario. Let's say you slip on a banana peel and you wind up on your back. Second to punch protection, of course. What's your number one priority? Getting back to your feet, or are you willing to play guard a little bit, look for sweeps, look for submissions?
Well, you know, in MMA, I never want to sit there and play guard unless you're a guy who's just, you know, is a specialist on their back. You know, Ryan Hall being one of them. But how many Ryan Halls are there out there in the UFC right now? I mean, you got Damian Maia, who's one of the best out there as well, but he's more of a top position guy. For me, I think for a lot of MMA guys, is to get up to your feet. I mean, to use maybe a submission or two to try and get the guy to turn and run, or to make him think that you're going for something so they bail and then you get up to your feet. So there are some scenarios where you may have to go to guard, play a little bit, and then try and work up to get up to your feet. But that's my number one goal, get up to my feet. You know what I mean? That's where I feel most comfortable. And I know I know that I'm not a jiu-jitsu specialist. And I may never be one. I mean, that's my goal to be, but, you know, a lot of these guys have been doing it since they were 3, kind of like I was doing striking.
Right.
So, yeah, my goal is to get right back up to my feet.
Okay. Now, how do you see the fight playing out? You think it's going to end early or a 5-round war? What is your prediction for it?
You know, I never really have predictions for fights just because you never know what's going to happen. You never know what kind of opponent that's going to show up that night. A lot of people go, "Hey, man, are you looking for the knockout?" I never go out looking for the knockout. I've made those experiences. I'm a very observant person. I've seen people go out there and look for the knockout, and when it doesn't happen, they wear themselves out, or it breaks them mentally when it doesn't happen. They're like, "Man, I can't put this guy away. What do I do?" So I go out there and play my game. If it goes 5 rounds, so be it. You know, I'll pick this guy apart. But I never look for it. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Okay, fair enough. Now, what would be next for Wonderboy? Say you win the title. Do you think you would pick your next challenger, or leave it up to the UFC, or maybe go for one of those money fights?
You know what? Nah, man. Whoever's more deserving in the division, and UFC knows who that is. And you got some guys up there, you know, obviously maybe giving Robbie Lawler another shot, or obviously Damian Maia, who's right at the top. You know, any one of the guys. I'll take on all newcomers. All guys who are wanting to challenge it. I think that's how a champion should be. And, you know, I fight just to fight because I love to do it. You know, I do it for the honor and for the glory. And you know, I'm a martial artist. That's what I've been doing since I was 3 years old, and the fighting style was 15, and that's all I know how to do. The money is just a bonus. You know, it's just a bonus for me. I think my real job is teaching martial arts. That's what I love to do. And I compete just for myself because I love doing it, and for the kids back home, knowing, hey, man, if you follow your dreams, maybe you can get there. So that's why I do what I do.
I dig it, man. You got any sponsors you want to thank, or people you want to give a shout out to?
Well, first off, I want to thank you for having me, man.
Oh, much obliged.
Management company, Paradigm Management. I also wanted to thank my coaches, Upstate Karate back home. And if you guys want to follow me on social media, Twitter, it's Wonderboy MMA, Instagram, Wonderboy MMA, and Facebook, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
Awesome. Well, Stephen Thompson, thank you so much for taking out the time. UFC welterweight title fight ahead of you. Tyron Woodley on your plate November 12th. UFC 205, Madison Square Garden in New York City. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thanks a lot, my friend. I appreciate you having me. Hopefully we can do it again.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. So there you have it. The #1 contender for the UFC welterweight title, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, set to take on Tyron Woodley at UFC 205 in New York City at Madison Square Garden on November 12th. Go check it out. In the meantime, you can read me on bloodyelbow.com, follow me on Twitter at @TheEddieMercado, and go be a good person.